Welcome back, everyone. And today I have a challenge that I'm participating in from the Scrap Suite, and it's challenge number 2 by Athena. And it was just get messy and create a project using at least 2 types of mixed media, which of course was right up my alley. So what you see me here is that's a photo that I'm going to be working on. It's a photo of my husband after a hard day's work, and it's just something that I wanted to document about our everyday life. So I found this paper in my stash, no idea where it came from, but I quite liked that colour to map my photo in, and I'm just cutting it out using my Friskus tumour, and this is how I will map my photo this time round. I want to give my photo a small white border around it, so I'm matching it on some of this scrap wide cardstock that was just there, and I love to use up my scrap pieces of paper, so I'm just using some double-sided tape to do the job. Now, because I want my border to be even all around, I'm going to be a bit anal about this, and I just don't want to eyeball it. I'm just using my perfect layers ruler that I have, and that just enables me to have exactly the same border all around my photos, and I love this tool. Now, that blue matte wasn't perfect all around, so once again I'm just using my perfect layers ruler and trimming it so that all my 4 sides are the exact dimensions. At this point in time I have no idea where this layout is going. All I know is that I want it to have different shades of blues and greys in it, and I'm just playing around with all my scrap pieces of paper that I have in my stash that sort of had the tones of colours that I wanted. And that's all you'll see me doing for quite a while. I just cut and play around, and yeah, it just took me a while to work out how this was all going to go, but in the end I was really happy with the layout. Now that square paper there with all the different shades, that doesn't end up making the final cut. And I'm just cutting some burlap, and now I'm going to start ripping into the paper. I decided I wanted to roughen it up a bit, and I'm just using one of these tearing rulers. And because I didn't allow myself, I cut the paper too short, actually, what I'm trying to say. I am really being stingy with this little bit, and it took me forever, but I'd cut before I even knew what I was doing, so it is what it is, and I'm really happy with the final layout. So that's all that matters. So I will be inking all 4 sides of this paper with the Distress ink, and the colour is called Chipped Sapphire, and I do that to all 4 sides. Oops, I did that to all 3 sides because the other side's going to be covered up, so I didn't bother working on that one, on the straight edge one. So what I've done now is I spritzed some water onto the paper, and I'm just ruffling it up and damaging it, and all this is doing is adding a bit of texture, but I didn't want any white from the underside to show, so I just inked it a bit more. And I really liked the texture that this created with the paper and what it did on the layout when it all came together. It was just ruffled. Once it dries, it looks really good. So, yep, for a masculine layout, I quite like this little trick. I gave everything a quick dry with the heat gun, and then I'm putting my layout back together again. And this is where I decide that I'm going to change that patterned paper from the squares to the diamantes. So this is pretty much how the layout lands up looking. So I'm just going back in and tearing the paper with the ruler, inking it with the Distress ink, and this time round, because I wanted to have a bit more control of how I damage this paper, I'm just using a paintbrush with some water that I've been spritzing, and just going around and ruffling it exactly as before, but just a paintbrush this time round. And I do that to all 4 sides. I did end up doing this ripping and tearing technique to all the scraps of paper that I put on this layout. I guess I just wanted that cohesiveness throughout the whole layout. And I really enjoyed making this layout. It was just so much fun, and I really liked the end result and how masculine it did look. So here is where I quite like how everything's come together. So I'm just using some tape runner to adhere everything down. And I'm so scared that I'm going to lose the position that I don't even want to move it a millimeter. So I'm using this tape runner and just putting everything down just so that it's exactly how I want it and it doesn't move. So now I'm using a Crafter's Workshop 6x6 stencil, and it's part of the mixed media challenge. So it was at least two things. So I've used the ink and now I'm using some modeling paste with the stencils. I don't like that dark navy blue color anymore as a background. So I'm just applying some gesso all over the cardstock to tone down the blue. And I really like the effect that I got in the end. And now I'm just going in using the packaging technique, and I'm using from Craft. It's a Kaiser mist. It's an iridescent spray mist with shimmer added to it, and the actual color is called Aqua, and I absolutely love how this turned out once I'd finished working on that navy blue background. I think I'll do some more work to it, but we'll see what happens. Now I'm doing the process with the packaging technique all over again, but this time using the Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stain with, the colour is Vintage Photo. And because it's quite dark and I don't want it so dark, I just sponge some of it up with the baby wipe that I've got there in my hand. And bringing the photo back in, and I quite like how that's starting to look now. I now want to grunge up the bricks a bit, so I'm going in with a gelato and I'm activating the gelato with the with some water that's in that water pen that I'm using. And I'm sorry, I don't know the color of this. It's sort of like a golden brown. I don't know. The gelatos don't have names on them, so I've just got no idea. Anyway, I do that to all the bricks and I like the effect. Once I finished adding that sort of golden color to the bricks, I then went in with some grey gelato and I just put in just a tad, not much, just a little bit of added just a little bit of grey into the tinge of these bricks. I quite like the effect that that had. I'm now going to add some tumbled glass distressings to these bricks, and that completes the bricks. And I really, really liked how they turned out. So then you'll see me go in and add in some ephemera from the Cocoa Vanilla Totally Rad collection. They don't all make it to the layout. I made my title on my silhouette machine and it's a hard day's work. Just cut it out. So this clog here is from the Totally Rad collection, and so are these enamel dots. And I'm just scattering them around. Some of them are stars. I'm putting stars on top of the stars, and I've also used some of the, I believe there was some love hearts that I used, and the colors were grey, which mixed in well. So I used up all the grey enamel dots, whether they be stars, dots, or love hearts. So now I'm going in with some Tim Holtz Distress Collage medium. It's grazing, and all this is going to do is give it like a bit of a crackle effect and make it look like aged bricks, and then I let this dry overnight. Now I'm going to color this clog using some brown gelato as well as the Tim Holtz Distress Spray Stain in Vintage Photo, just to blend it into the page a bit more. Now it's time to adhere everything down. So I'm just using some double-sided tape and down it goes. And then I go in with my Liquitex Heavy Gel Medium to secure this burlap down. I just needed something quite strong because of all the mixed media on this layout. And I use this quite a bit. So sticking down my clog and playing with the ephemera that came with the Totally Rad Cocoa Vanilla collection. And these clusters of stars that I'm going to use here, they're just the negative. I didn't want the whole star, so I'm just using the negative outline of it, and I quite like how that goes. That looks there, and I eventually do find a third little star that I stick down. So still playing with the ephemera. Oh, there's that third little star that I found, and I like that cluster of 3 there of stars. So this is a flare button, also from the Totally Rad Cocoa Vanilla collection, and I'm now going to use the sticker sheet, and that says like a boss, and I removed the other one that was up there before. So this is my little trinket box, and I found this little metal heart, which I love. And then I play around with these leftover chipboard negative pieces, and I quite like that there. So that all just does stay down. So I'm just using my Liquitex gel now to adhere the title down, and also those circle chipboard leftover bits and pieces. And yeah, this layout is almost complete. Now this is the Tim Holtz Chit Chat collection, and the 2 stickers that I stuck down there just say Everyday Life. So these are just some close-ups. Love all that texture. I absolutely loved how this came together, and it was I love it because it's a masculine layout and it's blue, and my husband being a plumber, he wears that trade link blue shirt, so I wanted to represent the blue in there because I changed the photo to black and white. So anyway, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank everyone that supports me. Thank you for watching my videos and for your comments. Until next time, I hope you all have a great week.